Welcome to the Thoroughly Wrong Project with Lalo and Bob. We appreciate you spending some time with us today. Let's jump right into that weekly dose of things you can disagree with. Take it away, guys. All right. Welcome to the Thoroughly Wrong Project. We've been out since mid-June, I guess, maybe 4 or 5 weeks. But
it's been a while.
It's been a while, yeah. But this how you been, man?
Pretty good. Hanging in there. Just, taking it day by day.
Yeah.
Trying to stay cool with this heat wave.
Yeah, what is this, like day 26 or some shit like that?
Never ending heat wave.
It has to fall below 98 for the heat wave to be over, and that might magically happen Monday.
I think it was like 102 today, so.
Yeah, it's always 100 and something. Ride around in that van all day long at work, and it always says 111. At some point during the day, it says 111. So
yeah. Well, because that temperature usually where the cars have the like thermometer or whatever they use to gauge the temperature, it's in the it's usually in the front bumper somewhere, or like right behind the bumper. So that's why for a lot of cars like that, whenever you first get in it and turn it on, it'll say something crazy like 116 or like 122.
Yeah.
It's super hot, because it's standing. The car just been sitting there. But once you start driving, it cools down a bit and it gives you like a more accurate temperature of what it actually is outside.
Yeah, it's telling you the temperature of the fucking pavement.
Yeah.
Check the back seat for a dead child, right?
An unnecessary fun fact of the day.
I'm sure there'll be more, man.
I only know that because I had to change, or I had to do something to my old car one time, and I had to remove the front bumper, and I had to like unhook the little sensor, the little temperature sensor.
Yeah.
So I think most other cars are probably the same.
I've never had a car. Well, I guess I do. My wife has one that has a temperature sensor, or it has a thermometer in the in the rear view mirror. It tells you all that shit. It tells you which way you're going, north and all that stuff. Yeah. I have a 95, bro. It's pretty standard. It doesn't have a computer, all that shit in it.
You want the temperature, roll the window down and stick your arm out.
No, man. I just say, "Hey Siri, what's the temperature outside?" She'll tell me. She'll tell me the temperature in fucking Nevada if I want it. Welcome to the 21st century, right?
Yep.
Well, hey, dude, I would like to congratulate Ted Cruz on 1 year of being wrong.
What was his
prediction of 1 year ago today? He said if Biden gets elected, the day after the election, magically, COVID will disappear, schools will reopen, states will reopen, and it will all disappear. So thank you, Ted Cruz, for being completely, thoroughly fucking wrong. There you go.
Welcome. I mean, it is Ted Cruz, so...
Well, yeah, it is Cruz.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, Rachel Maddow said that, which I've kind of fallen in love with Rachel Maddow over the past year, but I hate when she rolls her fucking eyes. I hate that shit, like when she's trying to make a point about how, they're the problem and she isn't, but I get it, but she's pretty spot on about calling these fuckers out,
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I feel like it's one of those things where, like, no matter what they say or like how absurd it is, especially when they like you said, when she calls it out or when anybody calls it out, it just doesn't register for some people. Like, it doesn't matter.
I know. I know.
Not right.
She's still the villain, even though she's I don't get it. It doesn't even make any sense to me whatsoever. But it seems like a lot of people are like that when you're arguing with them and you prove them wrong. Then they'll just change the subject or bring up, something completely different.
Yeah, what they call it moving the goalpost. When when you challenge them on something and they kind of like internally kind of recognize that they're wrong, so they'll move like the subject. They're like, oh well, what about this? Blah blah. You know.
Yeah, deflection.
Mhm. So in the debate world, I guess they call it, in the political debate world, they call it moving the goalposts.
Well, that's another sports analogy. And speaking of sports, man, we only have 49 days before football starts again.
That means I have 49 days to draft my fantasy football team.
Oh, okay. You'll have to explain that to me. I mean, I kind of get it, but how much is it going to cost me?
To explain it? Or
No.
to play it?
Well, you're going to explain it for free, motherfucker. Okay. I want to know how much it's going to cost me to get in.
Well, it depends. There's free leagues. You could always try like a little free league, like on Yahoo or something, ESPN, just to kind of, like test it out to see if you like it. It's basically you draft your team, like, you draft your players, and then whatever they do on the field reflects, it turns into points pretty much.
Okay.
So, a touchdown is worth a certain amount of points, or a catch is worth a certain amount of points. So that's how the players that you drafted accumulate points. And then every week you're going up against another person in your league that also drafted a team. And whoever has the most points from their team at the end of the week, wins that week.
All right.
So
it's
pretty simple.
That sounds tedious, Lalo.
Yeah, it's a lot of like, you have to like, it really made me go from like following like just the Patriots,
Yeah.
or like, really just caring about them or watching their games, to like, you watch all the games now, because, oh, I have a wide receiver from, this team playing over here, and, my quarterback's on this team. So it makes you more like interact more with the whole league.
Okay.
And it makes you like research players, if your player gets injured, like, you have to take him out of your lineup and try to find a backup, or, if they have a bye week, you have to find someone to replace them on the bye week. So it's pretty fun. I mean, if you're like into football and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. You just really talked me out of it right there real quick.
There's a lot of, like, I have all my ESPN and like Bleacher Reports, like notifications set to like on, like as soon as like some news drops, I'm like there, like ready.
Okay. Well,
sometimes you got to act quick with these like breaking news stories,
Maybe when I get rich, I'll have somebody do that for me, because that sounds.
Well, that's no fun. The fun part is, kind of assembling your team. And I mean, for me and my friends, I think it's more bragging rights than anything. Cause I mean, we all put like money in, so at the end of the year, the winner gets, the cash prize. But I think we value the bragging rights just as much as the money. So,
yeah. Yeah. The ball grabbing, and yeah, I get it.
Yeah. My team's better than yours. Like, you fucking suck. Like, you don't know shit about football type of thing. Happens every year. And I'm a 2-time champ in my league, so
are you?
I got a little bragging rights there of my own.
You got that? Did you win last year?
I didn't win last year.
Oh, well, that sucks.
But I won in 2014 and 2018, so it's been a few years. But I'll get them this year. I say that every year, but
Well, I don't have bragging rights for anything. I mean, well, I that sounds really cool, but at the same time, because, man, I have got to I get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning and work my ass off all fucking day long, because I got kids and a family and all that nonsense. And yeah. I love you, honey. I didn't mean your nonsense. I really didn't.
No, it definitely takes time out of your day, especially on Sundays, because you're just glued to the TV,
Yeah.
Trying to, as if you watching the game is going to magically make your player do better. But, you can't help yourself to just watch them, you watch them, make a big run, and then you like refresh the app and like see the points come up, and you're just like, hell yeah. That's like all day Sunday for me.
Oh, I play that game. It's called BitTorrent. I'm sorry. It's called Bitcoin. That's
just keep refreshing, hoping it goes up.
Yeah, it's the same fucking thing all day long. I'm like, well, let's see. Oh, fuck, I'm down 2%. But today I'm up $60. So
are you really though? If tomorrow you're down 20?
Well, today I'm about even from where I was when I invested 2 months ago, because it took a humongous hit there because of China and whatever. You know how it works. It's like
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk and
magical tweets.
It's well, his last tweet didn't work. It did not work. We were all watching. Nothing happened. So I don't know. When he tweets, I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
You always hold. That's the running joke. No matter what happens, you hold.
Exactly.
Going for the long con.
Exactly, man. I got in, when it was pretty low, and then it went pretty high, and I got pretty excited, and then it fucking tanked. Like, yeah. But I had a little extra money, so fuck it. It was enough to play with, and if it happens, it happens, and if it doesn't, then I won't have bragging rights, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, earlier how we brought up football, it kind of reminded me of since it's so close to the season today. I don't know if you heard the commissioner. He issued a memo to the league for like COVID protocols.
Yeah.
That they expanded the league this year. This is the first year to 17 games. It's the first time ever that teams are going to play 17 games.
Oh, really?
And they play it in an 18-week schedule because each team has, a bye week somewhere. So it's a total of 18 weeks. So it's kind of hard to, it's not like baseball, basketball where you could like, if there's like a COVID outbreak, you could just reschedule a game for like the following week or have like a doubleheader,
Yeah.
Football is kind of like, you play for one day and you're kind of fucking like worn out from it for a few days. So you can't really, you can't play back-to-back games and stuff like that. So when it comes to rescheduling, it's a little hard. And he issued a memo saying that, if there's a game that can't be rescheduled due to a COVID outbreak, the team with the outbreak will forfeit the game and just, have an L, on their record.
Yeah.
Have an extra loss on their record. And people were like not, like the players' reactions were like not happy about that because I guess, I mean, it was kind of news to me, but there's like close to a quarter of the players are either not vaccinated or not fully vaccinated. So, which means, I mean, a majority of them are, but that's still a big percentage that's not, So there was a few vocal players. I don't know if you've heard of DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, he said you know what? It really was, I just told him goodbye. When I watched it on the news, he was like, he doesn't know how long he's going to last in the NFL because they're going to make him get it. And I was like, well, fucking goodbye then. See you later.
Yeah.
He's complaining about can't keep this is supposed to keep the players safe. And if that's what I have to do that, then I don't know how long I'm going to last in the NFL. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Cause I mean, like I was just looking at, like the Twitter comments and like the Twitter replies, like all day. I probably replied to like 20 people today, just like poking big ass holes in like their arguments,
Yeah.
Cause they were all like with him, like, a lot of people, like, oh, it's his choice. Like you're forcing him to get a vaccine. Like you're like endangering his like livelihood or like, his way of, like providing for his family and whatnot. When, I mean, at the end of the day, it's not really that. It's no one's forcing him to get vaccinated,
Right.
It's, this company, the NFL, which is, a business more than anything else. They're in the business of making money. And, if you can't play games, they're not making money. So by them, kind of setting those rules, like, does it encourage, like, of course they encourage everybody to get vaccinated, but they're not forcing you. And, a lot of people bring up the word like freedom, like, oh, I thought this was like a free country to do whatever you want. Like, yeah, it is. Like you could choose to not get vaccinated, but that choice carries weight and carries consequences. And if you make that choice, then you're going to have to live with those consequences, just like any other choice you make,
Right.
So, and that's what a lot of people don't get. Like the NFL is all about right now is one, making money, and two, like if they're doing, this to protect their staff and like other players and coaches, like that's their choice. Like if they want to prioritize that first, that over everything else, like, that's their choice as a, private business, even though technically the NFL is considered a nonprofit. That's how they get away with not paying taxes.
Are they the church?
That's a different conversation.
Okay.
But like that's what I'm saying. Like you have the choice to not get a vaccine, but they also have that same choice to, because you're not getting a vaccine, to to forfeit the game if it comes to that.
Well, there's that huge argument that people were saying, well, now they're talking about the kids having to get vaccines, and you can't get into schools right now without like mumps, measles, rubella, the fucking vaccines you have to have your kids. So now, instead of accepting that argument, there are people all over the country now who are saying, okay, so we're not going to get our children vaccinated at all. So
they're not going to go to school then.
I know. Then what are you going to do? If this is going to come down to some weird fucking riot again about getting vaccine, or, possibly variant D will just kill off all these dumb motherfuckers. And then,
I mean, like, I don't think it's illegal to not get your kids vaccinated, but I'm pretty sure it's illegal to like not take them to school. I think at least in California, like you can't just have a kid and then like not have them enrolled in school. You could like homeschool them if you're able to, but like I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to like just not take your kid to school, because
no, you can't do that. They have to have some sort of education. That is right. That's the law. But the law also says you have to have your children vaccinated to have them in public schools. So
I don't think a lot of people in the South can afford to homeschool their kids. So
that's another conversation, man, and I'll get in trouble for that one.
Vaccinate your kids or go to jail. It's really up to you. But
Louisiana's taking a big hit with the COVID variant D.
It's Louisiana, Mississippi, Florida, all these red states.
Yeah.
That's not a coincidence, by the way, but
Oh no, definitely not. But how do you even go about to talking about people who support Trump, supported him, cheered when he did that whole vaccine thing, and then refused to get it? It just seems so odd that they're not the first ones in fucking line to do it.
Because Trump's not the one telling them to get it now. If Trump was still in office, they would absolutely be first in line. Even if like you said, he was like I wouldn't say mastermind, but like he led the charge in the whole like warp speed thing.
Yeah, Operation Warp Speed.
Even if he did all that, and he claims like this vaccine is here because of me, blah blah. Even though he did all that, at the end of the day, it's Joe Biden on their TV right now telling them to take the vaccine. And they can't get past that, like internally, like their brain can't process, like it's Joe Biden. Anything Joe Biden says is wrong and it's a lie, and I'm not gonna do it. And I think that's just how they think, like when it comes to anything. There's even like Republicans now, like Mitch McConnell, like telling them like we're gonna go back into lockdowns if we stay on this path, and if you guys aren't getting vaccinated, but like. It just flies over their head because at the end of the day, it's Joe Biden at the top, and they just don't care anything of what he has to say.
Yeah. Well, I know somebody that's really close to me. I sent him a picture, and it was me back in a mask because I was in LA last weekend, and that was the rule, man. We had to do it, and he was like, "That's all political nonsense." And now. I had to try to have this conversation with him. I'm like, okay, if it is political nonsense, how come that, you know, the variant doesn't infect people where there's large amounts of people wearing masks? How come it's a rock concert and all of a sudden you got 30 fucking people? Because nobody was wearing a mask. I explained that. He's like, well, that's just the news reporting the wrong thing. So they can't get by the truth. For some fucking reason, the truth staring them right in the face. It makes complete and total logical sense, medically, philosophically, logically, politically, you know, however you want to look at it, and they refuse to say that they're wrong. And it just boggles my fucking mind that they will get sick and die before they admit that Biden's right. Why?
Yeah,
you know, why?
I think at the end of the day, it always comes back to like pride, like egotistical pride, you know, like no one ever wants to admit that they're wrong and somebody else is right, especially when that somebody else is like someone they, you know, disagree with on so many things. Because I mean, like you said, you can present them, like the numbers don't lie. Like when it comes to hospitalizations and like deaths, there's like 95% plus of them are people that are unvaccinated.
Right.
So it's like, how does that not click for you, you know? Like what else do you need? Like, does that to be like 100% or like?
Well, and then there's all these fucking weird things that pop up in social media. Like there was this dude the other day. I ended up blocking him because I block everybody like that because I just don't want to hear it anymore. But he slipped through my radar somehow, and he was posting all this shit about in Europe, in countries in Europe where no one is vaccinated, no one is sick, and everyone in these hugely vaccinated countries is dying, and here comes the variant. Explain that. And I just want to go, I can't explain that. It's not right. It's not right.
What country is that?
Exactly. What are you talking about? They have all these arguments that are very vague, and there's no science behind it, and there's no names, and there's no numbers. It's just like this call to be obstinate. And that seems to be what it is to me.
Yeah. A lot of people make arguments with statements that aren't arguments, you know? Like when it comes to even like the vaccine, like when they say, oh, I know someone that got vaccinated and they still got COVID. Like that's not an argument. Like that doesn't help your case in any way. Like first, the vaccines aren't designed to completely prevent COVID. They're designed to severely lessen. That's why they have a 95% like efficacy rate, you know?
Right.
Like they've said that since fucking day one. Like these aren't 100%, it's 95%. And
that's pretty damn good though, you know?
What happens when people start taking them, the numbers reflect that, you know, 95% plus of the people that are in hospitals or dying aren't vaccinated.
Right.
So like what part of that, like, don't you get, you know? So, but I mean, it's just like at that point, it's just ignorance because, you know, you don't want to admit defeat. You don't want to admit that, you know, the left is right or whoever, you know?
Well, yeah, I sit here, you know, and I feel like a fraud sometimes saying that because I grew up in that and I was exactly like that. And I wasn't wrong no matter what. And you know, I've gotten divorced because I wouldn't admit I was wrong, dude. So
that's probably the root cause of most divorces, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm honest about it now. And when my wife and I argue now, I was talking to Lulu today at work about that. And we were talking about people arguing within relationships. And I said, my wife and I have a weird relationship now where if one of us is wrong, we'll just go, you know, I made an error right there and I'm sorry. And that's all you had to do. And that seems like if everybody who was, I think that a lot of people who are arguing against being vaccinated truly want to get vaccinated because they're scared shitless. But they don't want to say, you know, all right, I'm wrong. I'm going to go get vaccinated. And then they have to listen to their friends and their family. And as a matter of fact, I read a story yesterday about these kids, these millennials or Generation Z, whatever the fuck they are in their 20s now, who still live with their parents, their 20s and 30s, are sneaking out of their fucking houses to go get vaccinated and coming back and not telling their parents because their parents are like QAnon people.
I'm not surprised. My brother recently got vaccinated. He was telling me, but I mean,
your like mom, you said, was your mom and dad QAnon?
No, that's probably the wrong like connection right there.
Okay, well, that led me to believe. Okay,
no, but I brought it up because he told me like that there was like a bunch of people in line waiting, or like they have like a little waiting area in like the pharmacies. And he was telling me that there was like a bunch of like kids, like, or what he perceived to be like kids, he was saying like they look like a bunch of kids. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, especially like here in Kern County.
Yeah. Sneaking out to get vaccinated. And then, I don't know, dude. I don't know.
I think a lot of it also has to do with this like sense of, and I don't know if I don't know how other countries like work or how the people there think, but I think the United States has a big like issue with like feeling entitled,
Yeah.
And this feeling of like we're better than everybody. To the point where there's like a worldwide pandemic, and like we don't want to do anything about it. Like, like, hey, it's killing like fucking thousands of people every day. We need to shut down. No, we don't want to shut down. We want to stay open, everything. Doesn't matter. And then we're like, okay, well, we have this vaccine, like we don't have to shut down if we all take this vaccine. And they're like, no, I'm not going to take the vaccine. I just want nothing to change in my life. I want everything in my life to stay exactly the same, no matter what's going on in the rest of the world. And it just doesn't work that way.
I wonder if they were in like standing in a bank and some bank robbery happened and they were just like, get on the floor. And they're like, no, I just want to make this fucking deposit. And that's what it's going to happen. That's you're right. It's not the way shit works. Things change and you better fucking roll with it or else it's,
like one of my favorite quotes is always, the only constant thing in life is change.
Yep.
But a lot of people are just, they're afraid of change. They don't want their, daily routine interrupted, even for the slightest inconvenience that is wearing a mask, They find that as like oppressive. Like that's what they deem oppressive because they've never been oppressed in their lives. So, it's a lot of like trying to play the victim and, like we're being like infringed, like the government's trying to control us and like all these like little like ignorant talking points that just build on top of each other. But if you attack them like on their views or their beliefs, like chances are they can't defend them with actual like knowledge or statistics. Like they'll just run in circles and with their own like claims, And at the end of the day, it's like they're just at some point, like I've said before, there's some people that you just can't change their mind, and that's fine. Like you don't have to change everybody's mind, but when society is changing around you, you either adapt or you get left behind. And we're seeing that right now when it comes to like vaccines. Like, yeah, no one's forcing you. Like there's not a law that says, hey, you have to get vaccinated or you're going to jail. But you see more and more like, oh, if you're not vaccinated, then you can't do this or you can't do that. You can't travel here. You can't fly out of the country. And right. People are like, oh, like that's oppressive to them.
Yeah.
When in reality, like no, like that's just the days we live in right now. And when there's a worldwide pandemic, like that's what happens. You think people acted that way, in the 1920s when they had, that Spanish flu. Like, I mean,
I'm gonna guess yes.
a lot of them probably did, but I mean, no, most people that are alive today have never lived through anything like this. So
True.
to them, it's like it's a big change, wearing a mask. Like they've never worn a mask for anything, and now
Yeah,
you have to wear it every single like store I go to. Like, yeah, it's something small, but to them, it's like huge, and it's the government telling them what to do and what to wear, and it starts with the mask, and then the next it's the vaccine with the chip inside of it,
I
and
know.
then next thing you know, it's like
You're
you're
gonna be
controlled by the
sterile.
government, and then fucking communism. That's the end goal for them. It all leads to that.
Everything leads to communism. That's
Everything that the Democrats propose is socialism, no matter
yeah, I
how much it
know.
helps them.
It's the same thing. The same thing happened during 9/11, and I know you don't remember it, but you
I
know,
kind of remember it.
you do you remember like walking in the airport? You know, when I was
I
a
know.
kid, you could walk through the airport smoking a cigarette. I mean, walk your
You could
loved
smoke in
ones.
the plane.
Yeah, walk your loved ones all the way up to the fucking door and kiss them goodbye as they disappeared down the tube. You know, and now there's this. It does feel oppressive. I had to take my wife to the airport. She flew out to see her mom and dad on the East Coast. Man, we had to be there 2.5 hours early just to get her on the fucking
To get through
plane.
like TSA and everything,
Yeah, to
like
get through
security.
security and have your bags checked and your vagina looked at and whatever else they fucking got to do now. And
Yeah, a lot of
do you have more than 3 ounces of liquid on you? All right, well, slam that motherfucker on the ground, get some cuffs on him. Let's take him in the back and talk to him. I
yeah.
mean, it's seriously weird because when I was a kid, you just waltzed through the airport. You didn't wear a motorcycle helmet. You didn't have seat belts. You just you'd smoke wherever the fuck you wanted. People smoked in hospitals, man. I remember going to see my uncle who was in the hospital, and my other uncle offered him a cigarette, and they stood there and smoked cigarettes while they were visiting in the hospital.
I think that was probably before people knew the long term effects of smoking. But yeah, a lot of things change when there's big like events like that.
Well, now
9/11
see,
changed
you
a lot of things, especially
you
with those
just said that's before they knew the long-term effects of smoking. Well, now they're complaining about you got to wear a mask. That's before in the future they will say that's before they knew the long-term effects of COVID-19. It's the same fucking thing. We're just learning as we go and adjusting and trying to live longer and protect each other. And now here's some laws that come along and some rules and regulations, and we just don't want to. It just seems like we don't want to be bothered,
inconvenience. Yeah,
inconvenienced. We don't want to be bothered.
yeah, and like I said, that goes back to the whole like entitlement, like feeling. That I don't think it's unique to United States, but it's very prevalent here.
Oh, they're having a fucking riots in France because uh, they set down that you have to have an inoculation card. You have to have that vaccination card if you want to get into a movie or a sporting event or any place where there's more than like 18 people. You have to show your card where you got vaccinated. Now they're screaming like, "Oh God, France isn't free anymore." It's the
But
same
see,
all over the
the
fucking
thing
world.
the thing with that argument is, you're free to do all of those things. Like if you don't want to get vaccinated, that's your choice. But then, like I said, those consequences come with that choice. So you could live the rest of your life and never get a COVID vaccine, but you'll probably go a long time without fucking going to a fucking football game, or a soccer game.
Yeah, you can live
Because
your whole life not driving across town. Just choose not to get a driver's license. There you go.
and it's like you can once you like if you give the same like if you like lay out the same situation in other ways to people, it kind of sometimes I've seen that it makes them think about it a little bit different. Like uh, when they talk about the vaccine and how they always say like, oh well, people getting the vaccine still get COVID, or I know this person, or my brother did this, or I know someone that still got it, and you're like, yeah, well, you know, do seatbelts save your life every single time you crash? No, but they sure help. Can you still get pregnant on birth control? Hell yeah. You know,
But it does slow you down.
are condoms gonna stop you? Are condoms 100% effective? No, but guess what? Chances are you're still gonna wear it because it greatly reduces the chances of you getting pregnant. And it's like,
Unless you're me growing up in the 70s and 80s, we were like, yeah, we know about condoms, but whatever. And then AIDS came along and we were like, yeah, we know about condoms, but whatever. And
but see, it's like the same. It's like the perfect like analogy or
it is.
comparison.
It is.
And it's like it's for a lot of people kind of like, oh, you know, like that makes sense. Like, well, like once you put it that way, you know, they're pretty similar. But for some, like I said, no matter what, they're not gonna get it. And those are the people that usually get left behind when it comes to, you know, like I said, society changing around you.
Yeah.
And you either adapt or you get left behind.
Well, you're absolutely right. You can choose not to get it. You just have to live the consequences. And that's like any fucking thing in life. You can choose to do whatever you want. There are consequences to it, period.
Yeah. I could choose to go murder somebody right now, but guess what? I'm going to go to jail.
Yeah. Well, maybe there's a lot of unsolved murders here. Can you unmute yourself? There you
Can you
go.
hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
What was the last thing I said?
I don't know.
But when I was talking to myself right now, I was saying, you know, a lot of people they want to you know, to go back to normal, to go back to how everything was, but they don't want to do all the steps necessary to get there. And you know, it doesn't work that way. You can't do nothing and expect to get results. You know, and that's with everything in life.
Right.
Hey, I want more money. Well, like, well, how about you know, find you a job? No, I just want money.
I just want money. Well, you got to do something to get it. No, I just want money. That's all. That seems to be the American way, but that seems to be Western culture's way now. Because if you read about Western Europe and it's the same entitled, I gotta have it my way everywhere you go. So I guess that's what it is now, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's like, it's very like deep in our culture, like that thinking, you know, like even something as simple as, you know, when people would tell you, oh, you know, the customer's always right. So, you know, when people go fucking argue with like their cashier trying to return some fucking dress that they wore for 2 weeks and they're trying to return it after all that, like, you know, like, no, I should be able to return it. Like, let me talk to your manager, blah, blah, blah.
Karen.
Like they come in with that like mentality of like, I'm right. Like, no matter what, like, you're just a fucking employee. Like I shop here like, oh, you know, you're going to lose my business, you know, and all these things. Like it's that just like overall mentality. And I just think that mentality is like very prevalent here in the United States. And it's kind of gotten us where we are today when it comes to, you know, the vaccine and COVID and, you know, getting back to normal. There's one group of people like delaying that, and it's very obvious to see who it is. Like, you think I liked wearing a mask? You think anybody liked wearing a mask? Like, in every single place. You know how many times I would like be about to go inside of somewhere? Like, I'm like reaching for the door and then I forget I'm not wearing a mask.
Yeah.
I have to go all the way back to my car and get one.
And now that we don't have to wear them, how many times have you gotten to the door and hesitated because you're like, I'm not wearing a mask. Oh, wait, I don't have to.
Well, see, my thing is, I'll like, every time I go somewhere, I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, I'll be like halfway there and then I realize I don't have a mask. And then I'm just like, I'm just hoping that they don't require a mask because then I have to go back. So
are you tell the truth, man? Are you kind of fucking afraid? Like I am. Like I just keep thinking I should start wearing it again, in the grocery store and all this shit. All this.
Um, I'm not really. I mean, I'm I'm like cautious, like if I'm going to like I went to like a baseball game a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
and when I was like walking into the stadium, um, or like looking for my seats, like I had it on, but when I was like sitting down, um, like the way our seats were, it was like we had like a little, it was almost like a bar stool type of seat where there was like a little table in front of you. So it's not like I was like surrounded by people. So, but like when I was at my seat already, and like eating and drinking all that, like I would take it off, obviously. But if I like had to go to the restroom or had to leave my seat for whatever reason, I would put it back on. But like even now, like if I go somewhere, like I know it's gonna be like fucking shoulder to shoulder or like just a lot of people. I mean, I'll throw it on because I mean, to me, it's not really that big of a deal.
Yeah, I get that whole cognitive dissonance thing of like, I'm wearing a mask. No one else is. Everyone's looking at me. I'm protecting myself. Fuck you. God damn it. It's just this whole.
That did happen to me one time a few weeks ago. I went to Salty's for lunch, right here on White Lane. So that's like barbecue place. It's very uh how do I put it? It's very Caucasian,
Ah,
um, and it's very like I don't know, just Caucasian. There was a lot of white people around,
yeah.
and I get there and I have my mask on, and I could literally see people like I was walking up the steps and I could see them like staring at me or like look at me or glance at me, and like I was literally the only one with the mask on, like literally the only one.
And your inner monologue is like, is it the mask? Is it because I'm Mexican? What? Oh, shit.
Probably a little bit of both.
Probably.
They probably like looked at me and rolled their eyes like this fucking liberal libtard fucking dude over here. But I mean, they're not wrong. But
They're not wrong. You are.
I wear it proudly.
I, yeah, I get that look in Vallarta quite a lot.
So I mean, but I mean, at the end of the day, like it doesn't really affect me. Like if people were to stare like that, like I remember when we first started wearing masks, what there was, it was kind of the other way around. Uh, like the early stages of people wearing a mask, like where I would see it like a Target, like here and there. It always like that stood out to me because I was like, that's weird because we never did that before. Like that was never a thing.
Right.
Like in my 20 something years of life, like that's not normal to me. I know in like some cultures and especially like in Asian countries, it's more common. Like they'll wear masks like in the airport and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I mean they've been through like a few like health scares like that in pandemics, like with MRSA and stuff like that. Um, but here like you never think like, oh, like we have that. It's another like part of that mentality, like, oh, that'll never happen here, type of thing.
I know.
And then it
Yeah.
happens here, and then you're like, what the fuck? You're like, that's weird.
It's
I
funny
remember.
how we first started, when we had to put them on in the beginning, and it was like a camaraderie of people who were wearing masks, and we'd look down on people who didn't wear them, and people who didn't wear them looked defiant. And now we're wearing masks and no one else is, and now we're the fucking defiant ones. It's
Yeah.
just like we can't ever have a consensus in our culture ever. It's like somebody's always have to look at somebody else and think fucking libtard or Mexican, get out of my white restaurant, or white guy, get out of my Mexican store. It's like, what the hell's wrong with us, man?
There's a lot of gatekeeping, and but I mean, at the end of the day, like wearing a mask doesn't hurt anybody. Getting vaccinated doesn't hurt anybody.
I know. I'm still wearing mine.
Whereas the opposite tends to hurt other people. People say the vaccine is not just to protect yourself, but it's to protect the people around you. Like you want to get to that herd immunity like threshold,
Yeah.
and we're
Well,
not there yet, but the only way to get there is get a certain percentage of the population vaccinated.
like 70 or 78%, something like that.
I thought it was higher. I thought it was like in the 90s or something.
We're standing at 50 right now.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I was watching the news before this while I was eating dinner, and I think
most controversial things are 50-50 right now when they really shouldn't be.
Well, if you look at our vote, the rights, if you look at our voting records, it's so close. It's always like 49-51. So it makes sense that half of us would think that we need to get vaccinated and half of us don't. It makes total sense. We're split so down the middle that it's fucking crazy. I don't know how it's ever going to get fixed, but well, I do. Maybe COVID will take care of it and knock out about 10% of them, and then it'll be 60-40.
I hear that. I see that in a lot of like comment sections, like, oh, well, if you don't get vaccinated, that's just like natural selection at that point,
Yeah.
Charles Darwin is, waiting for you. But I mean, it's funny and like, you chuckle at it, but at the same time, like I personally like when I read those, like yeah, I'll laugh and like smirk at it. But I mean, I don't want people to die just because they're ignorant. Like, I just want them to for them to understand it.
Yeah.
To like click for them.
Johns Hopkins website says it's 70%.
Yeah, so I mean, I'd rather have them understand what I'm saying than to like. I'd rather have somebody that doesn't agree with me like understand what I'm saying and kind of lean with what I say more.
Yeah,
I'd rather have that over them suffering the consequences of like ignorance or that like, oh, I told you so, like that's what happens when you don't fucking like I told you that's what happened, like I don't want that. I want them to like prevent that. I want to prevent that. So I want to like tell them before, that happens.
Well, you empathetic little fucker.
Like when you see all the time, like prominent COVID denier, like gets COVID and fucking dies.
Yeah.
And then there's people who are like, oh, I bet he believes in it now, blah, blah. And, like you said, yeah, you chuckle at that and you laugh at it a little bit. But at the end of the day, like, well, the dude's dead when he didn't really have to die.
Right.
It was a very preventable death.
Well, maybe they should have spun the whole thing like get vaccinated to protect yourself. Make it a fucking selfish thing. We're a selfish goddamn culture. Make it selfish.
And that's the thing. Vaccination is not just about yourself. It's about the people around you.
Right. But that's how they spun it. They're like, get vaccinated to protect those around you. Well, maybe if they'd have spun it the other way, get vaccinated to protect yourself. Fuck everybody else. Because that's how we feel, Lalo.
I don't think that would have changed much because people would still be on that whole like I don't care. Like I'm fine. It still has a 99% survival rate. Like I don't give a fuck.
Well, the age bracket that's not getting vaccinated the most, that would be yours.
Yeah, it's that something about people in their 20s that they think they're invincible.
Yeah.
But I think that's like that spans generations.
It does.
It's not unique to my generation. It's anybody in their 20s at any point just thought they were invincible.
Yeah, I did. I have to admit, I still think I'm invincible. I'm still doing stupid shit, but at the same time where I'm taking these chances where I rock climb and I'm going to rock climbing school in September anyway. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I jump out of fucking airplanes and I ride skateboards and I drive fast and I do stupid shit all the time. But at the same time, I try to minimize it. I don't think of like I'm out here trying to kill myself because I'm invincible. I just like to push the envelope. But when you're talking about something like a fucking disease that can kill me or alter my DNA to the point where I'm going to be fucked up for the rest of my life and then die early in a miserable way, no, that's not something to take a chance with. I can fold a parachute correctly and my chances of survival are great, even though I'm still walking the edge. But I can't, not breathe in this vaccine or this disease from somebody who's got it. I take chances with my life but they're very calculated.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's always been like, when it comes to arguments like that, you know, like, oh, it's my choice. Like, I can do whatever I want type of thing. Um, if that choice, whatever it may be, solely affects you, go for it. I don't give a fuck. You know, you can do whatever the fuck you want.
Right.
But once it affects other people around you, you know, intentionally or unintentionally, like, that's when you kind of have to draw the line of like, okay, now we have to like allow you to do this, or this shouldn't be allowed, you know?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
that's how I raise my kids.
driving, like, you know, like drunk driving, like if no one ever died from drunk drivers, if if someone that was drinking and driving and they got in an accident, if 100% of the time, you know, for whatever reason, only the drunk driver like died or whatever, you know, that's on them. If they always crash into a fucking tree instead of another car, you know, okay, like they made that choice.
Yeah.
But more often than not, you always see like they're the survivor.
Exactly.
And the people they hit are dead.
Yeah, they were completely relaxed when it happened, so they didn't die. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, when those choices affect other people, you know, you want to get in a car, fucking not wear your seatbelt, go ahead. I don't give a fuck. You want to get in that same car, not put your seatbelt on, and then put your kids in the back without a seatbelt on, that's when it's like, okay, like you're doing something wrong, you know?
But if you get in a car, in order for that argument to work, you would have to get in that car. You would have to be single. You would have to have no children. You would have to have no wife. You would not have to have any family who loved you, because taking your seatbelt off and crashing into a tree and dying, not wearing your seatbelt, affected a lot of fucking people right there.
True.
So not wearing a helmet, not wearing a seatbelt, smoking cigarettes, all those things have consequences on you, but they also have consequences on others.
Yes, I mean, it's only a small, I bet it's a small amount of like, you know, choices that people can make where it solely affects them, and you know, they live with the consequences of that. And I mean, if those are choices, you know, that you want to make, like that's fine with me. But once they start impacting other people, that's when you should really like reevaluate and really think about what you're doing, and get out of that very like selfish mindset, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people call me selfish for the things that I do, but I make it clear to all my children and my wife and family members who still talk to me, very few, but I make it very clear, you know, I'm living my life. I might get killed. I'm sorry. I got to do this. But like I said, there's still calculated chances. It's not like I'm doing something that I'm not sure if I'm going to get sick. I'm not sure if I'm going to die. You know, mistakes happen, accidents happen, but I don't think this COVID-19 is a mistake or a fucking accident that you could just take a chance with, especially when, you know, especially when you have a vaccine out there, like I said, it's 95% effective. So it's this argument. I wish that it was simpler. I wish is we could back up a few years and get rid of Trump, because this really wouldn't have been it, away from Trump and out from underneath that weird time in political history that we had. If we hadn't had that, we wouldn't have such a great divide here, because people would have just said, yeah, of course I'm going to get the vaccine. I get a mumps vaccine. Why not this? But it became this weird fucking freedom.
Everything's politicized.
And everything's about freedom and my freedom.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's one of those like hindsight is 2020 type of thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But I think the only thing we can do now is kind of just, you know, because like you said, you wish it was easier, like to understand, like, or for people to understand. And I think it is. It's an easy concept to get. It's pretty simple, you know. Worldwide pandemic. We have a vaccine. Take the vaccine. Get rid of the worldwide pandemic. You know, it's pretty simple.
It's pretty simple.
There's so much like misinformation out there, and it just keeps getting like peddled, like continuously to like these people, whether it be, you know, Fox News, like all these people on Fox News, like they're like, is getting vaccine really like necessary? Is it worth it? Is it worth the risk? Blah blah. 100% of Fox News like anchors and correspondents are vaccinated. FYI, anybody listening, just so you know, fucking Tucker Carlson, he's vaccinated. Fucking Marjorie Taylor Greene, 100% vaccinated. Just FYI. So they all get it, like they know, but they still peddle like this BS, you know. And you know, it happens on Fox News, it happens on, you know, Facebook, like all that QAnon shit. Like,
Yeah.
where do you think that, like, conspiracy theory of there's a fucking chip inside your arm and, you know, my fucking body's like magnetic now? Like, what the fuck? Like, no, dude. Like, you're just fucking sweaty and sticky. Put baby powder all over yourself and see if that spoon still sticks to your arm. And then you can tell me you're magnetic. You know?
Well, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen the shit that you're talking about, dude. I avoid it like COVID-19, okay? Because I don't have time
that
for
think,
it.
like that their body turns magnetic because, you know, they got injected with the vaccine and it has fucking stuff in it that, you know, there's like electronic devices in you now, so that's why you're magnetic. And like this lady had like a spoon and she would like stick it on her arm, and like people would say like, you're just sweaty, bro. You're just sticky. It's 110 degrees out. Like, come on.
Did she have a Southern accent?
Probably. But it's just, it's so much misinformation. That's just, it's like preventing a lot of people from thinking like just logically with like common sense.
It's
like there's people that are out there saying, you know, they're fucking Democrats are like sucking the blood out of like children and shit.
Yeah.
Like what? Like what world do you live in, my guy?
The pedophile ring underneath the pizza shop.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know.
Is there pedophiles? Yeah, of course there's pedophiles. There's fucking creeps everywhere.
Are they Democrats? Yes, they are.
Fucking Democrats like in a fucking pizza parlor.
You bet.
Like underground child like sex trafficking ring. I doubt it.
I do doubt it, but there are pedophiles in pizza shops. I can guarantee it.
They go to John's on a Saturday afternoon and you'll find one.
Just go to Chuck E. Cheese, motherfucker. You'll see a pedophile somewhere.
He's usually in the rat costume. That's his in, his ultimate cover.
He's a furry. A pedo furry. All right. So hopefully we've just started a new misinformation campaign against Chuck E. Cheese.
And I mean, I encourage, like, I know you've told me that people like message you and like, you know, they kind of, you know, they give you their opinion.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be. And I encourage them to like, you know, send, I mean, if they want to come on, that's up to them. I wouldn't like if that's not something you would be comfortable with, like that's fine.
Oh,
but I encourage them to at least, you know, when they send you that angry message, to include like, you know, their argument or their stance or why they think this or think that. And we could, you know, on the following episode, we could talk about it and, you know, try to break down why, you know, maybe, you know, what they're saying is, you know, false, or, you know, it has some truths to it, just so it's not, you know. And I mean, we could even, because I know the whole like fake news thing is very like prevalent. You know, I could bring like multiple sources on stuff.
Yeah, I'll send them. If anybody listen, I'm with you. I know you guys are listening. I know who you are. And if you have an argument, please send it to me. Lalo's exactly right. You attack me. You tell me how I'm wrong. You tell me how the show's wrong. You say how Lalo's wrong, but you won't explain how you're right. So here you go. Here's your opportunity. We invite you on. If you want to come on and present your argument, please do.
We could even
we'll like respectfully do it.
What was that thing we did last time where it was like we could like change your name and stuff?
Yeah, certainly.
We call you something else.
Certainly, I can alter your voice. I can do a lot of things. We can protect your and we can make you anonymous. Really.
And I mean, I have when it comes to like getting like attacked about like my beliefs or like my stance on things. I have like a very thick skin, so you could call me like a fucking like wetback ass, like socialist, fucking, speak this, speak that. Like it doesn't phase me because at the end of the day, I'm just gonna go at like your stance on things.
Wow. Okay.
So it's like,
but don't call me a cracker because it hurts my feelings.
I mean, and I know I'm not like those are offensive things. Don't get me wrong, and there's a lot of people that would get offended by it, and
there's some people that are offended right now when I put this online because you said it.
I mean, I'm Mexican, so I'm pretty sure the rule is I can say those things.
Oh God! But let's get on and talk about that sometime.
But like those, don't get me wrong. Like just because I can take it, doesn't make it any less offensive or wrong.
Right.
But I mean, if that's your way of like communicating, that's fine. I'm still, like I said, I'm still gonna talk about the issues and why I believe, or why I believe in my stance and my beliefs, and I'll give you statistics, or I'll give you examples, or I'll give you as much data as you need or don't need or want or don't want.
All right.
Because I mean, I feel like when it comes to what I believe, especially in politics, I personally feel like I do a decent amount of research, especially before talking about something that, one, I don't really know much about, or just something that I'm like very passionate about. Like I could talk about like immigration for a long time with people because I feel like I know pretty like in depth what like the ins and outs of that topic,
Right.
Like police reform, or just any like political topic. If I don't know much about it, I'll admit like, oh, I don't know, I haven't looked into that. But chances are I'm gonna look into that, and the next time,
you're in trouble.
Be ready.
Next time,
I might come back with like, oh, I looked into it, and you're kind of right, like with what you said, blah blah. Or what, like, hey, like I was looking into it, and technically, like when you try like what you're doing, like this is what happens, and like we've tried this before and it didn't work, blah blah. So I'm, well, I try to do my research, and I suggest everybody does their own too.
Well, I like to say,
and if your research is like Facebook and like Fox News, I mean, you could come with that, but then that's just like too easy to pick apart.
Well, some people don't trust the media, and they only trust the media, certain outlets.
And it's not even that, because people will go against Fox News. It's people just trust the things that they agree with.
Yeah,
that agrees with them.
Exactly.
If a study goes with you, like all these like climate change deniers, they don't believe the 97% of studies that say climate change is real and it's happening. They believe the 3% that says, well, maybe it's not happening. Maybe it's just, a natural cycle of the Earth's climate.
Right.
And it's like, no, like it doesn't work that way.
A lot of people are like that. They will only surround themselves with people who agree with them. They will only read things that they agree with and feed into their belief systems. Marijuana is a big thing on that. A lot of people will say, well, marijuana is a medicine, and I smoke marijuana because of this and that, and then they completely disregard the 40,000 studies out there that say marijuana is harmful. They won't
like
look into that.
Chamber,
Yeah, so we got this huge problem in this world now where everything that you want to agree or disagree with, you can feed it, and the internet has it.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, I encourage that, to do your research, and if you have any topics, even if like you don't want to come on, or if there's just something you want us to like talk about, or like give your 2 cents.
I'll forward the emails, because I know a lot of people disagree with what we said tonight about mask wearing and COVID-19 and vaccination rates and school children. There's all kinds of things here tonight that people can argue with.
I mean, there's a lot of political topics that are, like you said, like pretty much 50-50 because that's that's the world we live in, especially here in the United States, which is kind of weird because if you think about it, it doesn't make sense. Like every single topic is like politicized, even the ones that just make like very like good sense, you
Right.
know. Um, so and you know, like I said, don't get into if you could take one piece of advice is don't stay in like your echo chamber of just like yes men all around you that agree with you, and you only listen to like certain people or watch certain like news sites. Because I mean, like for me, example, I probably uh I probably like follow Ben Shapiro like more than like your average Ben Shapiro fan
Yeah.
because I listen to like everything he has to say because I want to listen to what he has to say, and um every time I do, it kind of just solidifies the fact that he doesn't know what he's talking about, 99% of the time. Um, so, I suggest, you give the other side. You don't have to like, I'm not saying like, oh, like switch over, but just hear like what they have to say. And, chances are at the end of the day, you're still not going to agree with them. And it might take longer than, just one podcast, like, or like one YouTube video.
Right.
Like it's like keep it going.
Well,
Uh,
I can't. Okay, I'll agree with you on that. I listen. I try to listen to everybody, but there are people out there, Lalo, that I will not listen to anymore. Like Tucker Carlson. I'm just done. It's like your stupid fucking arguments over and over again, and your Fox News mentality, and you won't listen. You won't get out of it. No one else is right. You spread misinformation. People are dying because of it, and I'm just done with that. I don't want to hear that shit anymore. It doesn't even make sense to me. So
yeah.
I want to listen to somebody who's got a valid, logical, fact-based argument. If you have that and you want to bring it on. But if you're coming at me with, like you said, I saw on Facebook and I saw on Breitbart and I saw on fucking Fox News, I really don't have anything for you, man. Okay. Because you're not going to listen. You're not going to listen to Johns Hopkins University study because Tucker Carlson said, that
Yeah.
how could you even that's like wasting your time arguing with a child at that point.
Yeah, and I think that's where um like we're a little bit different in that sense. Just because like you said, how you mentioned earlier about how you like saw somebody that kind of like slipped through your radar.
Yeah.
They're like saying dumb shit and you like just block them.
Yeah.
Like I've never been a big fan of like blocking people, um, especially when they say like dumb shit like that. Just because for me personally, like blocking them, like you said, I don't listen to Tucker Carlson anymore, or like
Right.
whatever. Like that's not gonna make them go away. Like you might just like you personally might not listen to him or like hear anything he has to say, but I mean, he's still there, and he's still reaching a lot of people. So I would rather, me personally, still listen to him, listen to what he says. So when other people bring it up in their arguments, I already know what they're talking about. And I know how to like, break it apart for them and
I
kind of get them to understand like, well, he's wrong because of this. You're like, oh yeah, I know. I've heard him say that before. And actually this is what's true, not that.
I
Same thing. Like I
Point
listen to
taken.
Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder, like all these like right wing like pundits, Charlie Kirk. Um, like I listen to all of them, like probably more than left wing pundits because I know what they're gonna say. I know what uh, AOC is gonna say. I know what Bernie Sanders is gonna say. I know what CNN's gonna say. I know that. What I don't know is what the right's gonna say. I mean, I can have a pretty good idea,
Right.
but by taking in what they say and analyzing it, when other people talk to me about it, I know exactly. It's like I know their talking points because I listen to the same people they listen to because they're in echo chambers. So, when they come at me, like when they start talking to me about something, I'm like, oh, this dude, he 100% saw that same, Ben Shapiro video that I seen. So I know exactly what he's going to say. I know his talking points. I know his arguments. So I know how to break them down. I know how to, point out the flaws and the fallacies in them.
Right.
And that's how
Point
usually
taken. I get it, man.
So I mean, that's
it.
just my, and I mean, I don't blame people that like, there's some people that just don't want like negativity like in their life or like on their Facebook stream or their Facebook like feed, So they'll just block people like, but like I said, me personally, I have a thick skin when it comes to stuff like that. So I really don't care. But that doesn't mean that someone that does care, like if they block somebody, I'm not going to like fault them for it,
Yeah. Well,
or tell them like, oh, you're soft or whatever.
You can fault me. I don't. I talked to somebody at work the other day, and we were talking about something like this, and she said, "Well, I just argue with them. I'll go to bat," and she's on the other side, so she's one of the ones making those arguments. And I said, "Why are you arguing with people?" And she said, "I just try to put them in their place, and I want them to know how I feel." And I was like, I tried to tell her. I said, at the end of the day, when I am 98 years old, I don't think one of my last thoughts will be, gee, I should have fucking argued more on Facebook. I just don't have time for it right now at this point. I got a 15-year-old daughter. I got a wife. I got this. I'm going back to school. I got all this shit going on. And I listen to the news, but I try to filter out that really, really, really dumb shit, Lalo. I just like, because it's just confusing to me. Like, how can you possibly think that you're magnetic? How can you possibly think that? There's no way I can change your mind about something like the vaccine made me magnetic. There's no way I can do it because you don't have a baseline of knowledge that I can argue it from. So yeah, you think you're fucking magnetic from a vaccine. You have no idea about how magnets work, science, physics, none of it. You stick a spoon to yourself and you go, look what happened to me. Tucker Carlson said I'm magnetic. And I'm like, okay, I that's arguing with a child, and I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, all of a sudden, people are experts in like virology and
and
how vaccines work and how they're made and
exactly. I stopped arguing with people, but I've been a vegan. I came up the other day, my 4-year anniversary for being a vegan. A couple years ago, I just stopped because people were like, a vegan, where do you get your protein? What, you're suddenly a fucking nutrition expert? Where do you get your omega-3s, bro? Well, what's omega-3? Exactly. Shut the fuck up. So I just got really tired of arguing with people who think they know what they're talking about and they have this baseline, like I said, they don't even have a baseline knowledge to even begin to logically argue. They don't even know what a fucking fallacy is. So how can I explain to them that their arguments are fallacious?
Just start off the argument by describing, like, I'm going to say certain words in this debate, and this is what they mean.
If something comes up that you don't know what I said, please raise your hand. We'll define it for you. Yeah, I don't have time for that. That's cool. I mean, that's where you come in. You got plenty of time. That's all right, man. Well, dude, I want to come back more in the future here because, dude, we've got Trump on trial. We got California is on fire. We've got AOC. I would like to talk
about the whole Cuba shit going on.
Oh my God, yeah, definitely. So we need to come back at least once a week again, like we were doing. Yeah. I know things got out of hand, and I got sick. On July 4th, I inhaled the doctor says I must have inhaled a piece of metal, heavy metal, and got a fucking lung infection. About killed me.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I was out of work for a week. got off track, couldn't exercise, couldn't get out of bed. So I laid in bed for 4 days. And that's the first time I'd done that since I've been about, I don't know, 8 months old. So
No, yeah, that's definitely
so there's definitely a lot to talk about. I want to come back. I really enjoyed tonight because it needed to be talked about, because this whole vaccine thing is coming back to kick us in the ass again. And here we go. California's beginning to shut down again, and masks, and we needed to talk about it. But let's get together again soon.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
There's always something new to talk about.
Always. And listen, if you're out there listening and you have an argument, like we said, just bring it up. You have our email. You have my number. You have Lalo's number. Give us a call. Let's talk about it. And remember, please remember, just look at the title. It's built in. Lalo and I might be thoroughly fucking wrong. Just remember that. Good night, Lalo.
Later, man.
Later. You have now experienced the Thoroughly Wrong Project with your podcast hosts, Lalo and Bob. We can now be found on Pandora Radio, Apple Podcasts, Podium Podcast, or by searching The Thoroughly Wrong Project to locate our YouTube channel. You can contact us directly by email at thoroughly-wrong@gmail.com, or just leave a comment on any of our platforms. Until next time, thanks for spending your valuable time with us, and remember, always speak up and never be afraid to be thoroughly wrong.